everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Vivianoseni. On this channel I talk about everything nursing, lifestyle, motherhood, beauty and all that good stuff. Today is a Q&A. I'm going to be answering the questions that you guys have put forward to me. Apologies for my live streams which have not been going on live. It's because I have very poor network and sometimes I don't get to see all of you. However, when I have enough subscriber count, I'm going to start live streams on my phone and I wouldn't have to worry about network problems. Okay, so let's get right into today's video. I have a lot of questions that come across to me through my Gmail, through my Facebook account and even through my videos. So I'm going to do my best to attend to these questions as much as I can. First and foremost, what is the nurse-patient ratio? The nurse-patient ratio in the UK varies from trust to trust and it all depends on the manpower and the number of nurses that the hospital has. We have what we call numbers and numbers for running a department. So when your numbers are up, we have the expected value and the amount that you can have in a shift. For instance, an expected value of nurses expected in a ward could be 5 and you just have 3. You could need 5 healthcare assistants in a ward and you just have 3. However, the job has to be done. On an average, the average number of nurses to patient or number of patients to nurses is usually 8 to 1 or 9 to 1. However, this can be reduced in some trusts. Some trusts can have between 4 to 8 patients to 1 nurse and as much as 9 to 15 patients to 1 nurse. It is all dependent on the trust and the availability of manpower. In the care home, however, obviously you have many stable patients, so that number increases. You can have a nurse taking care of up to 20 patients or more, even especially in the night shift. But during the day shift, you can have a nurse taking care of as much as 20 patients and at night as much as 30 to 40 patients in the care home. But in the NHS, the average nurse-patient ratio is 8 to 1 or 9 to 1 and as low as 4 to 5 patients to 1 nurse and as high as 9 to 1 nurse during the day shift and as high as 15 patients. Nurse to patient ratio is supposed to be 4 to 6, but you can have that in some trusts and as high as 8 to 9 in some trusts. Whereas in some care homes you can have up to 10 to 20 and as much as 30 during the night shift. In care homes even up to 40. In the NHS you can have as much as up to 15. It all depends on the manpower and the acuity of the patients. And usually when the acuity is high, you usually get help from healthcare assistants who help you in the personal care of these patients just to reduce the workload. So when you have nurse shortages, usually healthcare assistants usually support you in your role as a nurse. And the good thing about healthcare assistants here is that you usually have certification programs which they do, and they're able to cannulate, catheterize, even take bloods, such that they reduce the workload for you. And most of these healthcare assistants go ahead to become nursing associates and can also go up ahead to top up and become nurses. So it's just all in career development. So the nurse-patient ratio is usually based on the amount of manpower available, the acuity and the setting in which you are practicing. You can have as low as 4 to 6 and you can have as high as 8 to 10 in the day shifts and even as high as 20 even in the care home. And in the night shifts you can have as low as 8 in the night and as high as 30 in the care homes. So it depends on the setting, the acuity of the patients and the manpower available. But always know where you have acuity and much patient load, you have lots of HCAs around to help you in care of those patients. And usually HCAs who are skilled in taking bloods, catheterization, so they can always have a perfect skill mix to assist you in your job as a nurse. So do not be scared. I'm here encouraging you not to give up and to do your best to pursue your dream to become a registered nurse in the UK. The next question is, are there HCA? Of course, from my answer already, you know there are HCAs. We have healthcare assistants who assist you in their jobs. They help in total care of the patients, and like I mentioned earlier, some of them go ahead to get certifications and are able to do more jobs which are very nursing related or medical related, like cannulation, taking bloods, catheterization, removing catheters and things like that. So we do have ECAs. What is the charting system like in the UK? Alright, in some trusts you have charting systems that are fully electronical, whereas in some other trusts you have a mixture of electronical and manual charting. I can tell you that in some care homes, do their medication rounds electronically. This can be cool by some, and it has its own positives, its own negative. However, whatever you find in the trust where you find yourself, do your best to integrate and be integrated into the process of what is being done there. Okay, so you can have trusts that are fully electronical, and you can have some that are partially electronical and are just transiting from their manual charting into electronical charting. In my own trust, we have both, and we do both charting electronically and manually. For instance, the early warnings call, we have them on the vital pack, and in some departments in the hospital we still use the paper ones, and gradually they are being phased out in those departments. So what I'm saying is that you still have manual documentation. Even the doctors still document manually on the patient notes, even as they do so on Tracker, which is the app on the computer for management of healthcare systems, right? So we do have a lot of electronical charting and manual charting. In the case of litigations, manual charting helps because you have things that have been written by health professionals, doctors and nurses that can be taken as evidence to protect the trust. So even if we have electronical data, we still use manual data because electronical data can be lost. It can be targeted, it can be stolen. You have a lot of malicious things going on in the internet. So even if we have things done electronically, being safe, you just have to have manual things just to document and say I have done this thing, and that is what you can find in most trusts and in most care homes, working side to side electronically and manually in their charting system. The next question I have is, do you feel safe walking to and fro from work? Yes, I do feel safe walking to and fro from work because where I work is close to my home. However, depending on the area where you work, do your diligence to ask questions about the safety of the area from your fellow colleagues, and they will tell you if it is safe to work from home. If you have friends who are working in your area, you can walk along with them and go home. However, if your area is notorious with knife crimes, robberies, please keep safe and take a taxi or a bus or take your car to work. In my area, it's safe, so I do walk. However, sometimes because of the cold, you also wish to drive to work. So it all depends on the area where you live. Do well to find out if it is safe in your area to walk to your place of assignment, and if it's not safe, please stay safe. Your security is paramount. The next question I have is, can one register with the NMC with the IELTS or the CBT? Yes, of course. The NMC registration is a process. It is not just a one process thing. So once you have your IELTS and you start your registration, the NMC is going to prompt you to go ahead and do your CBT. And once the CBT is done, they're going to prompt you ahead to go ahead and do your auskey. So yes, you can start your registration with your IELTS. As a matter of fact, it is your IELTS you need to start your registration. So once you have your IELTS or your OET examination, go ahead and start your registration, and you'll be prompted to go ahead to do your CBT examination and your auskey examination, and also to do your personal checks and your police checks and your personal identification checks before you are fully registered and added into the register. The next question I have is, can a full-time nurse working in the care home also work in the hospital? The answer is yes. If you are a full-time nurse working in the care home, all you need to do is to get an agency that has most of its jobs in the hospital or in the NHS or in the private sectors. Some agencies have jobs mostly in care homes, whereas others have their jobs in NHSs. So what you need to do is to get an agency that has jobs in the NHSs and register with them. That way, when you get extra jobs, you are doing them in the hospital and improving and developing your skill and having a good skill mix and having a good understanding of what happens in the NHS and the hospital. That way, it also helps you to build your experience such that if you want to change in your practice, you can do that fully successfully without any troubles. That you work in the care home doesn't mean you can't work in the NHS. It all depends on where your agency has the job for you or where you get your second. The next question is, how many nights do I do in a week. So I have 3 nights in a week. For my 37.5 hours, I have 3 nights in a week, and on the third week in the month I have 4 nights, and that makes it at 7.5 hours. However, I do know that in some places you have full-time as 36 hours, which means you have 3 nights, and in some other places where you have 48 hours as full-time, then you have 4 nights in a week. It depends on what you sign in your contract, so do well to understand what is available, where you've been offered the job, and know what is expected of you and how many hours you'll be doing where you work. The question is computer literacy a must? The answer is no. However, you need to have basic understanding of computer systems and how they work. If you do operate a phone, then you should be able to operate a computer. However, I can say that you can learn on the job, so do not be scared. If you're not computer literate, you can do little courses, and I do know that most trusts run programs for their staffs to update them on the new things and new systems, and that way you can also learn your computer literacy on the job. The next question I have is, can hepatitis B cause denial of visa? Well, the answer is no. When you're giving your visa, nobody is testing you for hepatitis C. However, for a job, you'll be tested by your employer, and this is not at the point where you are giving the job offer. It is at the point of your health screening when you come to the UK. So no matter what the results you give to them before you come to the UK, you're going to be tested here. And I do know that there is no discrimination. However, I do know that you may not be allowed to work in certain places in the hospital, especially where you can have contact with blood or body fluids and lead to transmission of infections to other people. So you will not be denied the job or visa. However, you cannot work in all the departments in the hospital. They're going to give you tailored jobs, which will help you to work in the appropriate department. And obviously, where possible, they're going to treat as a duty of the occupational health in your trust or in your care home. They are the ones who will just put you through what you need to do once that is discovered when you get to the UK. In my trust, booster doses of hepatitis B vaccines are given to some nurses when they come to the UK, and for others they do not give booster doses. They have the way they check the level of immunity and how prone you are to hepatitis C. So what I would say is, when you get a job offer and get to the UK, just know you're going to be tested and the appropriate measure is going to be put in place for you. The next question is, can a pregnant nurse take the auskey? The answer is yes. A pregnant nurse can take the auskey. I took my auskey when I was about 8 months or 9 months pregnant. All you need to do is to inform your auskey testing center as quickly and as soon as possible that you are pregnant, so they can make available changes for you just to ensure you are safe and that you do not harm yourself or the baby. Usually you are expected to sign a fitness to test paper saying that you're fit for the examination. My fear was if I was going to be asked to do things like CPR, because I know I wouldn't give the appropriate compression to make me pass. However, I didn't get that in the examination. I believe they're going to factor all this in your examination day, but be rest assured, pregnant women will be allowed and do take the examination. The same thing with nursing mothers. You are allowed to do the examination, and you can take the auskey examination as a pregnant mother or a nurse. The other question I have is, do employers employ pregnant or fat people? This is a very funny question, and the answer is yes. Employers do not discriminate as a result of pregnancy. So everybody who is pregnant, anybody who is not pregnant is entitled to get a job. As a matter of fact, if anybody denies you a job because you're pregnant, they have gone against the law. So your pregnancy does not hinder you from getting a job. And if you're fat, you're not the only one who is fat. We have a lot of fat people who are matrons here. So do not be scared of your size. Do not be scared of your pregnancy. It does not count. The only thing is that you're not going to get your employer paying your full salary as your maternity pay. However, the government is going to pay you your maternity allowance, and this money should be able to push you through with the help of your partner. Okay, you may not get your employer's pay and salary, however, you get the government maternity allowance pay when you deliver your baby during your maternity. The next question I have is, will history of criminal offense affect my registration with the NMC? History of offense in driving. I do know in the UK Offenses in driving are taken seriously. However, I do know that you are expected to declare every conviction that you have during your registration, and on a case-by-case basis, the NMC is going to determine if they are going to give you registration. So it depends on how cruel or how they see that conviction to be. Okay, so what I would say is to go ahead and apply for the registration, saying what happened, probably giving your own side of the story, and leave it in their hands. Usually they know how they put their criteria in determining who should be registered, who has any criminal offense, okay, especially that of driving. The next question I have is, can I switch my registration? I have a certification as a public health nurse and as a midwife in my home country. However, how do I get to practice this in the UK? First and foremost, if you have other qualifications, do well to get into the UK as an adult nurse. When you get into the UK and understand the system, you can ask your employer to give you employment in those areas you are interested to register. For instance, if you're a midwife, ask for placement in gynecology ward or maternity wards. When you get into these wards, you understand what happens there, and then you can go ahead to apply for extra registration as a midwife or as a mental health nurse. So if you are somebody who is a mental health nurse in Nigeria and you're coming over here, you could get a job as a registered nurse in a mental health institution. That way you understand what happens there, and after you become a registered nurse, adult nurse, you can go ahead to register as a mental health nurse. The first point of entrance, or the first point of call, is for you to become an adult nurse first, and once you become an adult nurse, you can then proceed into any other department which you want, either midwifery or mental health nurse or any other thing. You are not limited in any department that you want or registration that you want to hold. All you need to do is to pay the registration fee every year and keep yourself in the register, and also do your revalidation every 3 years, and also pass the expected examinations to make you qualified and able to hold a registration. Once you're able to do these things, you can hold as many qualifications as you want and practice freely as much as you want in the UK. There is usually no restriction, nobody stops you. It's all in your hands. And that is it for me today on this section of question and answer and relocating to the UK. Keep those questions coming, and I'll do my best to always answer them and give you first-hand answers as much as possible. Don't forget to like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Thank you for the love as always. Be the best you can be, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.